Every spring, millions of gardeners walk into a garden center, fill a cart with beautiful flowers, bring them home, plant them carefully, and by the time fall is over, almost every one of those plants is gone. Then next spring, they do it again. According to the National Gardening Association's 2023 National Gardening Survey, U.S. households spent an average of $616 on lawn and gardening activities in 2022. So the question is not whether gardening costs money. The real question is, are you buying plants that disappear or plants that come back stronger every year? Today, I'm going to show you 5 perennial flowers you can plant once and enjoy for years. These plants bring color, structure, butterflies, bees, birds, and beauty back to your garden season after season. And number 4 may completely change how you think about bad soil forever. Perennial number 1, Black-Eyed Susan. If you want one flower that makes your garden look alive, even when summer heat is punishing everything else, start here. Black-Eyed Susan is the kind of plant that looks cheerful from across the street. It produces golden yellow petals around a dark chocolate brown center, and that contrast is impossible to ignore. It does not whisper in the garden, it announces itself. This is why it is one of the best first perennials for gardeners who are tired of spending money on flowers that only last one season. A single clump can grow about 2 to 3 feet tall. With strong, upright stems that usually do not need staking, it gives you height, color, and structure without making you work for it. The real value, though, is the bloom window. Many perennials give you a few pretty weeks and then disappear into the background. Black-Eyed Susan can bloom from late June into October, carrying your garden through the hottest part of summer and deep into fall. In many areas, you may still see flowers hanging on when the first light frost arrives. And this plant is forgiving in a way that almost feels unfair. It wants full sun, ideally at least 6 hours a day, but it does not demand perfect soil. Clay soil, sandy soil, poor soil, average soil, even areas that other flowering plants seem to reject. Black-Eyed Susan can usually handle them. Once established after its first growing season, it becomes genuinely drought-tolerant. That means if you miss a watering, travel for a week, or hit a dry stretch in July, this plant does not immediately punish you. It grows well across USDA Zones 3 through 9, which covers a huge portion of the United States. From cold northern winters to hot southern summers, Black-Eyed Susan has earned its reputation as one of the most dependable flowers you can plant. But here is where the plant becomes more than just pretty. If you leave some of the seed heads standing after the flowers fade, the plant begins doing 2 jobs at once. First, it drops seed and slowly expands your planting. That means next year and the year after, you may get more plants without buying more plants. Second, those seed heads become food for birds. Goldfinches and sparrows will cling to the dried stems in fall and winter, feeding from a garden many people would have already cut down and cleared away. That is the mistake many gardeners make. They deadhead every faded flower because they want the bed to look clean. But with Black-Eyed Susan, clean is not always better. Remove some spent blooms if you want to encourage more flowers, but leave plenty of seed heads in place. They are not garden waste. They are future plants and winter food. If you garden in hotter areas, especially zones 8 and 9, give Black-Eyed Susan a little afternoon shade if possible. Morning sun with some late-day relief can help the flowers last longer through brutal summer heat. So, if you are starting your perennial garden with only 5 plants, Black-Eyed Susan deserves a front-row place on the list. It is bold, tough, long-blooming, wildlife-friendly, and generous. Plant it once, care for it during that first season, and it can reward you for years with more color than many annuals ever give you. Perennial number 2, Coneflower. If Black-Eyed Susan is the cheerful workhorse of the summer garden, Coneflower is the plant that brings wildlife, color, and quiet strength all at once. This is one of those perennials that looks beautiful to people, but it is also incredibly useful to the living world around it. Bees come to it, butterflies come to it, goldfinches come to it. And once you understand what this plant does through an entire season, it becomes hard to imagine a garden without it. Coneflower is best known for its daisy-like blooms, with petals that sweep slightly backward around a raised central cone. That cone is what gives the plant its name, but it is also what gives the flower its character. Even after the petals begin to fade, the center remains standing, architectural, and useful. turning from green to bronze and eventually into a seed head that birds can feed from. The original purple coneflower is still one of the most dependable choices, but gardeners today have many more options. You can find coneflowers in pink, white, orange, yellow, red, magenta, and warm sunset shades. But no matter the color, the shape stays recognizable. That raised cone gives every variety a strong silhouette, so the plant still reads clearly from a distance instead of disappearing into the background. Depending on the variety, coneflower can grow from about 2 to 5 feet tall. Shorter varieties work beautifully in the front or middle of a border, while taller ones can stand toward the back and give the garden structure. It usually blooms from July into October, which means it carries color through the hottest part of summer and into the moment when many gardens start to look tired. It prefers full sun, but it can tolerate light shade. It handles average soil, clay soil, sandy soil, and even poor, unamended soil better than many showier flowers. Once established, it has moderate drought tolerance, which makes it a strong choice for gardeners who do not want a plant that needs constant attention. Its USDA hardiness range is zones 3 through 9, making it useful across much of the country. But the most important care instruction for coneflower is this: do not cut it down too early. Many gardeners clean their beds in fall because they want everything neat before winter. With coneflower, that neatness comes at a cost. Those dried seed heads are one of the best parts of the plant. Goldfinches will land on the stems and feed from them through fall and winter. The seed heads also add shape and texture to the winter garden, especially when frost catches on them in the morning light. If you remove everything in October, you are not just removing dead flowers. You are removing food, structure, and next season's natural rhythm. A better approach is to leave the plants standing through winter, then cut them back in late winter or very early spring before new growth begins. This gives birds access to the seeds and also helps protect the plant crown during harsh freeze-thaw cycles. Coneflower earns its place in a 5-plant perennial garden because it does more than bloom. It supports pollinators when the flowers are open, feeds birds after the petals fall, tolerates imperfect conditions, and keeps the garden visually interesting long after many flowers have finished their show. Plant coneflower once, give it sun, avoid overwatering, and leave those seed heads standing. It will pay you back with months of color and a garden that feels alive in every season. Perennial number 3, Daylily. If you want proof that a plant can be beautiful and almost unbelievably tough at the same time, look at the daylily. This is the flower you see surviving around old farmhouses, along roadsides, in abandoned lots, and in places where nobody has watered, fertilized, or protected it for years. And yet, when its season comes, it still pushes up fresh green foliage and opens bright trumpet-shaped flowers as if nothing ever happened. That tells you something important. Daylily is not delicate. It is not dramatic. It is not the kind of plant that collapses the moment conditions are less than perfect. It is one of the most forgiving perennials you can put in the ground. Daylilies produce trumpet-shaped blooms in a huge range of colors: yellow, orange, red, pink, burgundy, cream, lavender, peach, and countless bicolors. The only color you will not find in a true daylily is pure blue. Every other warm, glowing, garden-friendly shade exists somewhere among the thousands of varieties available today. The name daylily comes from the fact that each individual flower usually lasts just one day. But do not let that fool you. A mature, flowering stem carries multiple buds, and those buds open one after another. So while one bloom fades, another opens behind it. Instead of one short explosion of flowers, you get a steady sequence of color over several weeks. The plant itself usually grows from 1 to 4 feet tall, depending on the variety. Shorter daylilies can sit near the front of a border, while taller varieties can hold the middle or back. Even after the flowers finish, the grass-like foliage remains dense and useful. It helps cover bare soil, softens the edge of beds, and can suppress some weed growth simply by shading the ground. Daylily grows well in full sun to partial shade. More sun usually means more flowers, but the plant can handle less than perfect placement better than many flowering perennials. It prefers reasonably well-drained soil, but it is not fussy. Once established, it can handle dry periods, heat, and neglect far better than most plants people buy every spring. Its hardiness range is one of the broadest in the perennial world. USDA zones 3 through 10. That means almost anywhere in the continental United States, daylilies have a strong chance of surviving winter and returning the next year. But the real magic of daylily is how it multiplies. When you plant one clump, you're not just buying one plant. Over time, that clump expands underground and produces more fans of growth. Every 2 to 3 years, it can become noticeably larger. After several seasons, one original plant may give you enough material to divide into multiple new plants. You can replant them in another part of your yard, use them to fill a bare bed, or give them to someone else who wants to start a garden. That is why daylily fits the message of this video so perfectly. You are not only planting something that returns, you are planting something that can become more plants without another trip to the garden center. The key is division. When a daylily clump becomes crowded, usually every 3 to 5 years, the center may start producing fewer flowers while the outside still looks vigorous. That is your signal. Dig the clump in early spring or early fall, separate it into sections with 3 to 5 fans each, and replant those divisions right away. They usually recover quickly and can bloom again the following season. One mistake to avoid: do not cut the foliage down immediately after flowering. Those leaves are still working. They are capturing sunlight, feeding the roots, and building the energy that powers next year's blooms. Wait until the foliage yellows naturally or until after the first hard frost before cutting it back. Daylily earns its place in this 5-plant garden because it gives you reliability, color, flexibility, and multiplication. It is the kind of plant that makes a beginner feel successful and makes an experienced gardener respect its staying power. Plant it once, divide it when it gets crowded, and it can keep giving you more beauty for decades. Perennial number 4, Russian Sage. This is the plant that changes how many gardeners think about difficult soil. Most people believe the best flowers need the richest bed in the garden. Russian sage proves the opposite. It does not want pampering. It wants full sun, sharp drainage, and lean soil. Put it in ground that is too rich, too moist, or too heavily fertilized, and it often grows soft, floppy, and weak. But give it a hot, dry, sunny spot where other flowers struggle, and it can become one of the most beautiful plants in the entire garden. Russian sage produces silvery stems covered in tiny lavender blue flowers from midsummer into fall. From a distance, the plant looks like a blue-silver cloud floating above the border. It moves in the wind, catches late afternoon light, and gives the garden that calm, professional landscape look without demanding professional maintenance. It usually grows 3 to 5 feet tall, making it perfect for the back of a border, along a fence, or beside a driveway where you need height without heaviness. It needs at least 6 hours of direct sun, and more sun usually means stronger growth and more flowers. Once established, Russian sage is extremely drought-tolerant and grows well in USDA zones 4 through 9. It is especially valuable in hot, dry regions where many perennials fade during July and August. The biggest mistake is kindness in the wrong direction. Do not overfeed it. Do not bury it in compost. Do not treat it like a hungry vegetable plant. Too much fertility creates weak stems and fewer flowers. Plant it in lean, well-draining soil, water it while it establishes, then step back. In early spring, cut the old stems down to about 6 to 12 inches and let new growth rebuild the plant. If you have a rough, sunny patch you almost gave up on, Russian sage may turn that problem area into the most elegant part of your garden. Perennial number 5, Bleeding Heart. Now let's talk about the part of the garden many people avoid: shade. Maybe it is the north side of your house, the ground under a mature tree, or a dark corner where every sun-loving flower has failed. Bleeding Heart was made for exactly that kind of place. In spring, it sends up soft green foliage and graceful arching stems. Along those stems hang heart-shaped flowers, usually pink with a small white inner petal that looks like a tiny tear. It is one of the few flowers that can make people stop and look closer because it feels almost storybook-like. Bleeding Heart usually grows 2 to 3 feet tall and blooms in April and May, just when gardeners are desperate to see life and color again after winter. It prefers partial to full shade, moist but well-draining soil, and a cool, humus-rich planting area. It grows well in USDA zones 3 through 9 when placed correctly. But you need to understand one important habit. Bleeding Heart often goes dormant in summer. As heat builds, especially in zones 6 through 9, the foliage may yellow, collapse, and disappear. Many gardeners think the plant has died and dig it up. Do not make that mistake. The roots are still alive underground. The plant is simply resting through the heat and can return the following spring. The best way to grow it is with companions. Plant bleeding heart near hostas, ferns, or astilbe, so when it fades in summer, those plants fill the space. That way, the bed still looks full and intentional. Do not move bleeding heart around again and again. Choose a shaded, moist, well-drained spot, plant it carefully, and leave it alone. The first 4 plants on this list bring beauty to sunny spaces. Bleeding heart earns its place because it brings beauty to the shade. Now, choosing the right plants is only half the job. The first few weeks after planting, decide how strong these perennials become for years. Start by loosening the soil about 12 inches deep. Perennial roots need room to move down and out. If they hit compacted soil too quickly, they stay shallow, and shallow roots struggle in heat and drought. For black-eyed Susan, coneflower, and daylily, mix in compost to improve soil structure. Compost helps clay drain, helps sand hold moisture, and supports healthier roots. Bleeding heart also benefits from compost because it likes rich, woodland-style soil. Russian sage is the exception. Do not give it rich, heavy soil. Give it lean, well-draining ground. Dig each planting hole about twice as wide as the root ball, but not deeper than the pot. The crown of the plant should sit at soil level or slightly above it. Planting too deep can trap moisture around the crown and cause rot. Before planting, loosen any circling roots with your fingers. After planting, water deeply and slowly. For the first 4 to 6 weeks, water once a week if rain does not provide enough moisture. In very hot zones, new plants may need water twice a week during establishment. After that, water deeply but less often. Deep watering trains roots to grow downward, where moisture is more stable. Add 2 to 3 inches of mulch around each plant, but keep mulch away from the stems and crown. Mulch touching the crown can create disease problems. In spring, cut back old stems and divide crowded daylilies if flowering has declined. In summer, deadhead some black-eyed Susan and coneflower blooms, but leave enough seed heads for birds. In fall, do not fertilize. Let coneflower and black-eyed Susan stand through winter and wait until daylily foliage yellows before cutting it back. Give these 5 plants a strong first season, and they will reward you for years. So, if you are tired of buying flowers every spring that disappear by fall, start with these 5 perennials. Black-eyed Susan gives you tough, golden color. Coneflower brings pollinators, birds, and summer blooms. Daylily gives you reliability and more plants over time. Russian sage turns hot, dry soil into a blue-silver display. Bleeding heart brings spring beauty to shade. If you are a beginner, start with black-eyed Susan or daylily. If you already garden and want structure, add Russian sage. If you want a garden that feels alive, plant all 5. Plant once, help the roots establish, then watch your garden return fuller every year. Comment below with which perennial you would plant and your USDA zone. Subscribe, then plant something permanent.